To emulate Patrick Drain from The Mentalist, it is essential to understand his approach to observation, psychological manipulation, and deductive reasoning. Patrick's effectiveness comes from keen observation, a deep understanding of human behavior, and the strategic use of psychological techniques. In today's video, I will guide you through the key steps and principles that underpin Jane's unique skill set. Patrick Jane's power lies in his ability to notice details that others miss. This doesn't come from supernatural abilities, but years of practice and focused observation. To develop this, start by practicing awareness in your daily life. Pay attention to subtle changes in people's expressions, gestures, and tone of voice. Notice the small details of your surroundings that you normally overlook. For example, when you're in a familiar place, observe things that you usually ignore, the number of steps, the arrangements of the furniture, or the small expressions on people's face when they think no one is watching. This will help you hone your attention to detail, give you a stronger foundation for deductive reasoning. Build a mind palace. Memory is a vital tool for deduction and analysis, and Patrick Jane leverages his memory to recall and connect details quickly. To do this, he employs a technique similar to the mind palace method. A mind palace is essentially a mental map where you store information in a specific physical setting, such as your house. By linking information to specific locations within your palace, you create memory cues that help you recall details accurately. To build your own memory mind palace, choose a place you know well, like your home or your room. Mentally walk through it, attaching pieces of information to different objects or location. For instance, you might place a fact that you want to remember on your kitchen counter, then mentally revisit that spot when you need to recall it. As you practice, you'll find it easier to retrieve this information, allowing you to retain complex details to support sharper analysis and recall. Master psychological momentum. Patrick Jane is skilled at using people's existing psychological momentum, their nature, their tendency, traits, or biases, to influence them subtly. Rather than attempting to control someone directly, he reframes situations to encourage a person to act on their own, based on behaviors they are already inclined towards. For example, when Jane interacts with someone who's blunt and outspoken, he knows that they're likely to say whatever they think, regardless of others' reactions. He can use this to his advantage by suddenly introducing a sensitive topic in the presence of another person. Knowing that the outspoken individual will likely make an inflammatory comment, this can isolate them or create friction with those around them without Jane having to lift a finger. To use psychological momentum effectively, observe people's tendencies and think, how would this behavior benefit my goal if it was triggered in the right situation? Construct scenarios where people's habitual behaviors work in your favor, and then introduce them to the right triggers to set them on that path. Leveraging manipulation tactics subtly. True manipulation isn't forcing people to act, but rather influencing them subtly. They are unaware of it. Patrick Jane often uses social cues and people's insecurities to his advantage. In one scenario, he encounters a suspect who uses idiot as an act to throw people off. Jane, however, sees through it and decides to challenge this act by directly acknowledging the suspect's intelligence, thereby coaxing him into dropping the facade and confessing. When dealing with people, refrain from pointing out their behaviors directly. Instead, use indirect tactics that align with their personality. For example, if someone is excessively confident, rather than confronting them outright, leave them in a scenario where their overconfidence exposes a weakness or contradiction. This subtle approach minimizes resistance and allows you to steer the situation with minimal pushback. Practice active listening and reading people. Jane's approach relies heavily on observing body language, tone, and word choice. Active listening, where you not only hear but fully understand and interpret what the other person is communicating, is a critical part of his technique. Watch people closely as they speak, noting micro-expressions, body shifts, or change in tones that reveals hidden emotions. To refine the skill, practice reading people in low-stakes situations. Try to discern a person's mood or intentions based on solely non-verbal cues. Use the skill when asking questions or probing for information, as Jane does. Watch for subtle signs of discomfort, defensiveness, or enthusiasm, and adjust your approach based on these cues. By understanding their emotional state, you'll know when to push further or hold back, allowing you to extract more useful information. Use the power of misdirection. Misdirection is a common tactic Jane employs both to disarm others and to buy himself time. By diverting attention to irrelevant details or action, he creates a distraction, allowing him to analyze the situation or prepare a more significant revelation. This is especially useful in tense situations where direct confrontation might escalate the conflict. For example, someone's getting defensive, you could shift the conversation to a neutral topic briefly to relax them, then circle back to the main topic when they're less guarded. Misdirection is also helpful for deflecting attention from your true intentions. If you're seeking specific information, ask unrelated questions first, building a casual atmosphere, before finally steering the conversation toward your goal. Next, master the art of reframing. Practic Jane often reframes a person's strengths or traits as weaknesses to manipulate them. In one case, he deals with two policemen. One is insecure about his height, while the other has playful and a joking nature. Jane subtly amplifies the playful policeman's teasing, causing the insecure officer to become defensive and feel even more insecure. By framing the teasing as a subtle attack, Jane deepens the insecurity of one officer, creating tension. To apply this, identify a person's core trait and think about how they can be reframed to suit your objective. For someone who's extremely organized, you might suddenly imply that their organization sends them anxiety, making them appear less competent. Conversely, if someone is confident, you might frame it as arrogance. The goal is to highlight aspects of their behavior in a way that suddenly nudges their self-image and impacts their reaction. Exercise emotional control and composure. Jane's composure is one of his greatest strengths. Remaining calm in tense situations allows him to think clearly and observe without bias. To develop this trait, practice staying grounded during moments of stress by focusing on controlled breathing and maintaining a neutral expression. This gives you more time to think and respond rather than reacting emotionally. When someone tries to provoke you, recognize that emotional reactions will cloud your judgment and prevent you from seeing the bigger picture. If you need time to collect yourself, take a breath or even ask for a moment. Don't ask for a moment, that shit's weird. By mastering your emotions, you can maintain control over interactions, ensuring that you're guiding the situation rather than being guided by it. You can also just look at it in a different light. Like, think about it. You don't want to be the person who someone can get a reaction out of from mere words. The only way you should get emotional reaction is when your life is literally on the line. Next will be selective with information. Another technique Jane uses is selective discourse. She reveals just enough information to intrigue people, but holds back critical detail until it is advantageous to share them. This keeps people curious and makes them more likely to open up to him in hopes of recuperation. In conversations, try sharing small but interesting details about yourself or your thoughts, then pause and let the other person contribute. The scarcity of information creates intrigue, encouraging them to share more to fill the gaps. This strategy is particularly effective when you're seeking out information. It makes people feel more compelled to offer more, even if they don't consciously realize it. Now let's talk about staying ahead of others' moods. One of Jane's talents is his ability to anticipate others' actions and reactions. He does this by constantly analyzing not only what people say, but what they're likely to do next based on their personality and behavioral patterns. Think ahead like Jane. Train yourself to consider various outcomes in any situation. Imagine several scenarios and think about how each person involved might react. If you're in a meeting, for instance, consider who might object to an idea or who would support it and what concerns might arise. By thinking several moves ahead, you can plan responses to potential challenges, positioning yourself to respond smoothly when the moment arrives. Now let's move on to learn to use and counter manipulation. To protect yourself from manipulation, it is important to recognize when someone is trying to influence you. Practic Jane often uses manipulation tactics, but he's also acutely aware of them. When others try to manipulate him, he starts by identifying your own psychological momentum, so your tendencies, your weaknesses, and inclinations. Then once you understand yourself, ask how others might use these tendencies against you. If you're empathetic, consider how someone can exploit this by playing on your sympathy. Awareness is the best defense. By recognizing attempts at manipulation early, you can devise strategies to counter them. So for instance, if you sense someone is appealing to your ego, consciously detach from the flattery and evaluate their intentions objectively. This will help you resist manipulation and if needed, turn the situation to your advantage, much like Jane would. Now to end it all off, confidence and charisma. Practic Jane exudes confidence and charisma, which makes him both influential and persuasive. His confidence doesn't come from bravado, but from genuine self-assurance in his skills and knowledge. To cultivate this kind of confidence, focus on mastering your skills and understanding your strengths. The more capable you feel, the more naturally confident you'll become, making others more likely to respect and follow your lead. Charisma, on the other hand, is about making people feel valued and understood. Jane achieves this by maintaining eye contact, smiling genuinely, and showing interest in the other person's thoughts. To build charisma, practice active listening and show genuine curiosity about others. Make people feel seen and they'll naturally be drawn to you. In social interactions, engage people with open body language, relaxed posture, and a calm tone. Avoid the need to dominate the conversation. Instead, listen attentively and respond thoughtfully. Charisma isn't just about impressing others with your own thoughts, it's about making them feel valued. When you radiate confidence, and empathy, create an atmosphere where people feel comfortable and respected, enhancing your influence. So, thank you guys for watching, and by applying these strategies, you can begin to think and act more like Practic Jane, using keen observation, psychological insight, and composure to handle even the most complex interactions. These techniques combined with practice can make you more perceptive, confident, and influential in your daily life. Thank you guys for watching, and peace on the street.